welcome to your 30-minute yoga practice. Today we're going to begin reclined on the mat, but I want to give you an example of what we're going to do before we start. That way you can see before you go in. So I'm going to come down onto my back with my knees bent. I'm going to roll back down. I'm going to have my feet in line with my buttock bones and my toes pointing straight forward. And I'm going to ask you to do a few pelvic tilts. So as we inhale, we tip the pelvis forward toward the thighs. And as we exhale, we're going to roll the pelvis back towards the head. So it's a rolling action of the pelvis going forward on the inhale, a rolling action of the pelvis going back on the exhale. So that's all. Let's start that together. Go ahead and lie down on your back. Have your bolster, of course, your 3 blankets if you have them, and or towels, and your yoga block if you have one. Otherwise, don't worry, I'll give you a modification. So we're going to start out with the arms open beside you. Let your arms widen a little bit out to your sides so that you can feel your shoulders really relax back. There's no effort in the shoulders. And bring your heels in line with your sitting bones and your toes pointing straight forward. And you're just going to begin when you're ready with your inhale, tip your pelvis forward. And with your exhale, tip your pelvis back toward your head. The inhale rolls the pelvis forward. And the exhale rolls the pelvis back. So what you should feel is just a very gentle rocking motion as you rock on your pelvis. You're not lifting the buttocks off of the ground. You're just rocking your sacrum, that triangular plate at the base of the spine. Now, if you should find that your throat is wide open and your head is kind of looking back towards whatever's behind your head, then I'm going to invite you to use a blanket under your head. So you can take a blanket or a towel and just prop your head a little bit so that your head is more neutral. It's more in line with the rest of the spine. And just continue this movement with your breath. As you exhale, you're tipping the pelvis back or rolling the pelvis back. So it may be morning for many of you. So this is just a way to start to warm the spine. And then notice as you're doing this, is there any tension creeping into your shoulders or your hands or your arms? Can you soften, wiggle your fingers, make a fist, let the fist open, and let the fingers stay curled in as you continue this movement. And your arms are open wide enough away from your body that your shoulders have relaxed back and down, but they're not higher than the level of your shoulders. We're going to do about 3 more passes using your own pace of breath. So your inhale tips the pelvis forward. Let it be as long as the movement. So if you need to deepen the breath a little bit, get more length for your movement. So you're really taking a nice slow rocking. Now in this next round, we're going to start to lift the pelvis. So we want to remove the blanket from under the head. So you'll remove the blanket from under your head so that your neck is nice and neutral. Palms remain open beside you. Inhale, tip your pelvis forward. So you're rocking it forward like you did a moment ago. Exhale, rock the pelvis back. Keep it back as you push into your heels and lift your hips up. Like a ski slope, lifting them almost to the height of your knees. And then slowly lengthen your tail toward your heels as you lower down. So there's a rolling action down. Then inhale, tipping the pelvis forward. Exhale, tipping the pelvis back. Keep it back as you push into your heels and lift the pelvis up. Buttocks lifting off of the ground. Roll all the way up toward your chest. And then rolling the spinal column down from the upper back. Lengthen first the middle back. Then the lower back, then the buttocks push towards the heel. Inhale, tips the pelvis forward. Exhale, tips the pelvis back. You push through the heels, lift the buttocks up. Tailbone is leading the way, rolling up towards your chest so the chest opens and the neck lengthens. And roll down 1 vertebra at a time from your upper back to your middle back, to your lower back, buttocks reaching towards the heels as it comes down. Do it 1 more time. Inhale, tipping the pelvis forward. Exhale, tipping the pelvis back. Inhale, lead with that tailbone lifting up. Be mindful your knees don't fly out to the sides. Keep rooting your inner heels And as you exhale, lengthen from your upper back, middle back, lower back. Buttocks is last to land. And now you're going to let your feet come together, let your knees open apart. The bottoms of the feet touch, knees separate. And they don't have to be very close to you, but your feet are touching at the soles, even the outer long bone of your foot. So you're trying to get the outside edge of the foot to gently touch. And then you're going to inhale and reach your arms overhead. As you reach your arms back overhead, palms face the ceiling now. And just stretch the arms, but release the base of your neck away from your ears. Let your abdomen soften. And then hold your elbows. So crossing your forearms, hold the elbows all the way to the outer knob of the elbow, even with your thumb on the outside of the arm. And then feel the abdomen soften. We're going to be here for just another breath or two. But I want you to tune in and feel and sense your own breath moving in and out of your body naturally. There's nothing you have to do to change or control it now. Now notice which forearm is on top. Alternate the cross of your forearm. And holding the elbows, step your feet back to the ground. So heel toe your feet out a little so your feet come a little apart. Your knees are facing the ceiling. And just take a nice long breath here. Now we're going to release the elbows down. You're going to cross your right thigh over your left thigh. So bring your feet all the way together, knees all the way together. Cross right thigh over left thigh. And then lift your knees towards your abdomen and hold on to your left knee on the outside. Interlace your fingers there if possible. If you have a hard time reaching for your knees, just hold on where you can to the back of the thighs. But if you can hold that left knee on top, then you just let your hips soften here. You let everything go, and you may feel a stretch in that right glute area. And just relax your shoulders. If, again, your head is thrown back and your neck is really lifted away from the floor, you want to add a blanket underneath your head again. So you might have that nearby if you had it a moment ago. So just take that blanket under your head and notice how it relaxes your shoulders. And it actually makes less tension when you're holding this posture. Take another few long breaths, just breathing into that right glute. And slowly, as you exhale, start to bring the thighs a little deeper towards you. Just nice and easy, not a lot of force. You're not going for sensation, even though sensation may be there. I want you to just be with what arises in this moment without trying to change it. Allowing your breath to move into any stretch that you might be feeling, any tightness that you might be feeling. And allow the exhalation to soften the lower abdomen, to relax your shoulders, relax your tongue, relax your throat. Now you may stay here for the next 8 breaths. Otherwise, those of you who are feeling like this isn't much of a stretch at all, you don't feel anything at all, you can lift your heels up a little and reach for the outside of your ankles heel connection. Reach for the outside of your heels, flexing your feet, lift your shins parallel to the floor, and then bringing the outer feet towards your shoulders. That will allow you to drop your tail down, so you don't want your buttocks to curl up towards the ceiling. So this is just if you're really flexible. So don't push it if you're not feeling real flexible, if your body's still waking up. Just be in that first position. I'm just giving an option for those of you who are very flexible. We'll just finish up the final few cycles of breath here. And then first, we're going to release the left foot to the floor. And then we're going to uncross the knees. As you do that, bring your knees toward your abdomen and just hug both thighs in equally. Keep the buttocks down on the ground as much as possible. Move that triangle of your sacrum down, the base of your spine down. And feel how it kind of, imagine you could shoot missiles from your buttock bones. They're going forward, not towards the sky. And you'll feel that the low back has a slight curve to it. It's not flattened on the ground. Then keep that as you bring your thighs independently of your pelvis. Bring the thighs closer to your body. Relax your ankles, relax your feet. And then go ahead and set your feet down on the ground. This time we're going to keep the feet and knees together and cross your left thigh over your right thigh like you're sitting cross-legged at the dinner table. And then see if you can make room. Get the inner flesh of your uppermost thigh and cross it a little bit more. And then you're going to bring your knees up towards your trunk and you're going to hold on to the outside of the right knee. Let your feet be relaxed, let your thighs be relaxed. Even if you're really flexible, be here for the first few cycles of breath so that you can start to feel into the sensation of your breath, first and foremost. Feel that relationship to the atmosphere around you as you draw the air in and let it become your sustenance, your life force, your nurturing. And as you receive that, allow your lower abdomen to relax, allow your tongue to relax, and allow your jaw to be relaxed. Soften your shoulders down towards the ground. And as you exhale, slowly and gradually begin to bring the knees a little closer to you. And as you do this, you want to think of that left buttock also staying forward, not curling up so much to the ceiling. So trying to keep the sacrum anchored a little bit. It's going to lift slightly, but you want to keep the sacrum down even though you're drawing the thighs in. And feel how that affects the stretch that you feel in the left glute. Coach Antonio, give me a thumbs up if you feel a stretch. Good. Relaxing your shoulders there, relaxing your abdomen. Be here another 8 breaths. And now is the time, if you're very flexible, that you can flex your feet, lifting them a little bit parallel to the floor. So the back of your shins or back of your calves parallel the floor. Hold the outside of your ankle and heel connection. And keeping your feet flexed, let the legs start to go towards each side. You're drawing your opposite ankle towards your opposite shoulders. So the legs are separating at the shins and the inner thighs are rotating. But again, that's not something to be forced. So just feel your way. If you're already feeling a nice stretch, just holding the knees and bringing the thighs in, stay there. And we'll take this opportunity to quiet what you're hearing so that you can tune your awareness inside to what you're sensing through your breath, through the softening of the abdomen and the shoulders. There's nothing special you need to do to your breath. See with it as it is. And then we're going to go ahead and release that right foot to the floor. And then uncross the knees. And once again, hug both thighs in towards your center. And focus is on keeping the sacrum down. So let your sacrum be down and draw the thighs a little deeper independently of the pelvis. So the pelvis is shooting the buttock bones forward. So you have a long extended spine. It's not curled up towards the ceiling or rounded, but it's got length as you draw the thighs in. Lift your chest away from your pubic bone and drop your shoulders towards the ground away from your ears. And then once again, see if you can tune into the feeling of the lower abdomen softening, pulling back toward the pelvis. And go ahead and release your feet to the floor. You're going to separate your feet about 2 inches apart, not very wide. And the action is going to be to bring the heels close to your buttocks as your knees pull all open like a butterfly's wings. Let the knees open out to the side. Let your palms open out to the side. And there's a little bit of a flexing in your feet, so it's not very strong. It's just enough to feel that you can keep your heels separated a little. Now we're going to inhale here with the thighs open, and as you exhale, you're going to slowly lift the knees back to center with your exhalation. And their feet will have room to flatten because they were apart a little. And then you're going to squeeze your inner legs together for your inhale. You're not squeezing with your groins, you're squeezing with your knees. And then as you exhale, let your thighs start to fall open nice and slowly. The thighs begin to slowly open as long as your exhale takes. And then you stay here for your inhale in the butterfly shape. And then as you exhale, you're slowly going to start to bring the legs back towards one another, nice and slow. Take your time. And then when you're inhaling, squeeze the knees together. Make sure you're not hardening the groins. And then exhaling, let the thighs open slowly away from one another. So you're only moving on your exhale. You stay with the knees open for your full inhale, taking your time with your breath. And then as you're exhaling, going at your own pace, because everyone's breath tempo is different, but I'm going to encourage you to lengthen the exhale, squeeze the knees for the inhale, and then on your exhale, the knees slowly begin to move away from each other again, back to that open butterfly position, staying there for your inhalation. And as you exhale, slowly bringing the legs along with a slow exhalation, and then squeezing the knees as you inhale. So really move at your own pace, and I'm going to encourage you not to rush your breath. So see if you can let the breath guide you and lead you through the next few rounds so that you're only moving on the exhale. You're squeezing the knees together on your inhale. Your exhale is opening the thighs. We're going to do 2 more rounds, taking your time completely. So once your knees are open, you stay for the inhalation. Closing for the exhalation. Slowly let the movement take as long as the breath. Once your knees are together, you squeeze for your inhale. Exhale, leading your movement. At the end of your next squeeze of the knees together, again, just taking your time, you'll inhale to let the knees open. You'll exhale to let the knees open. And then you'll bring the soles of your feet to touch again. And you'll rest there. You'll reach your arms overhead, palms facing the ceiling. And lengthen back through your fingertips, all 5 fingers. And take a hold of your elbows once again. And then as you exhale, let your whole abdominal area soften towards the back of your body. Take a normal breath in and out through your nose. Eyes can be open or closed, it's up to you. If your eyes are open, they're looking gently towards the direction of your chest. If you've been feeling any anxiety or depression during this time, you might open your eyes, and as you look towards the ceiling, just feel the outer eyelashes open a little bit. It's not a hardening, it's just a softening of an opening of the outer eyelashes. Notice how that might bring a little bit of brightness, a little bit of clarity if you are feeling any emotional distress during this time. And then go ahead and notice which elbow is on top. Change the cross of your forearms so the opposite forearm is on top. And then fold your thighs back together. Take your feet a little wider than your hip, your sit bones. Turn your toes in, heels out. And let your inner legs rest against each other. Your knees rest towards the center line. And then just take another long, slow breath in through your nose. Long, complete exhalation through the nose. So breathing in and out through the nose signals the nervous system that we're safe. And then go ahead and keep hold of your elbows, but lift them towards your lower body now. Bring them down towards your rib cage. And then once they touch your ribs, let the arms float out to the side. And now heel toe your feet back into the center. We're going to roll off to one side, whichever side feels most comfortable for you. Look down when you push the ground away and slowly make your way upright. And now we're going to take our bolster. I don't want you to rush your movement, so you can watch for a moment the setup for the next pose. So we're going to take the bolster, and I'm putting it crossways on my mat, so it's widthwise on the mat. And you had a pillow for your head, perhaps, or if you didn't, take that pillow or that blanket folded in quarters at the top of your mat, about a good 6 inches away from your bolster, depending on how big your shoulders are. So if your shoulders are bigger, they might go a little bit further. Take a second blanket or towel, and from a square position, I'm going to place it down and I'm going to roll it in half, not all the way up. So now I'm showing you I've rolled it slightly in half, and I'm going to put that on top of the pillow blanket setup that I have above my bolster. Then from here, I'm going to turn to the side, and I'm going to bring my upper trunk right on the side of the chest and rib cage onto the bolster, and my shoulder is going to drop into this space between the bolster and the blanket. Now, one more thing before you set up is to pull this setup under your neck. So see how my head is gently, like a waterfall, flowing over the roll. So this roll might be big for you or small for you to support your neck. So you want the roll all the way into the neck, but you want the head to be able to drape over. So you're not using such a big roll that it lifts your ear up. You want to feel like your ear is kind of falling over that roll. So now once you come onto your side, you have your pillow pulled under, you have a roll on top, and your head is going to be back in line with the rest of your spine. So when we lie on our side, we tend to curl into a fetal position. And I want you to just have that position of your head in line with your spine. Now bring your arm in line with your hip, that's on the top. And you want to see, is your hip forward of your head or shoulders? Bring your hips and shoulders in line with your ears. So now your hip, your shoulder, and your ear should be in alignment. And bring your knees up to your bolster. So you bring your knees closer to the bolster, and then you'll feel that the spine is long. So the bolster is supporting the underside of your chest and the side wall of your ribs, and your arm is dropped into that little hole, and your neck is supported by just a big enough roll that it's only for your neck. It's not for your jaw or your ear. So you can take a moment to adjust that. And that should feel comfortable. Now that bottom arm that's underneath you, it may be reaching forward. I want you to draw the arm, lift up slightly your head and your shoulder, and pull the arm back so it's right under your shoulder along. So it's right, bringing your shoulder right under you in line with the rest of your trunk. And then your palm is facing open. Now from here, we're going to reach the top arm up towards the ceiling. Oh, one more thing. Let's bring that arm down. You may be feeling as you lie over the bolster that your bottom hip, the one that's on the ground, is close to the bolster. So stacking your knees as they are, just kind of lift your bottom hip and lengthen it away from the edge of the bolster. So you kind of lift your hip up, lengthen it slightly away from the bolster, and that should create space in your bottom waist. Did that do that for you, Antonio? Thumbs up if it did. Good. Now we're going to reach that top arm up to the ceiling. As you reach it up, it's like you're tracing the moon with your hand. So you start to roll the arm, like you're making a circle, tracing the full moon that we are having tonight. You start to circle, and I want you to feel that you're reaching that arm upward, and you can feel the movement of the shoulder, the whole shoulder rolling in the shoulder socket. So the arm bone, I should say, is rolling in the shoulder socket. Now you start to make that movement a little bit bigger. And so that movement becomes so big that the arm goes all the way over your head, and it goes all the way down by your hip. So you're making a big circular motion with that top arm. Now, some of you might have some shoulder stuff going on, and if it feels like it's getting stuck somewhere, I want you to just notice where it feels tight and pause there and kind of breathe into it a little, and don't push it. So you can go right ahead of that pinching sensation if there's that. So you don't have to make the circle so big that it's causing you any discomfort. Now change the direction that your arm is circling. Begin to circle the opposite direction. And don't forget that a circle means the arm also goes behind you. So you're not limiting the range of motion through the shoulder. If it has the space, use it. Do about 3 more big circles. Take your time. Again, move with your inhale. Circling back, let the exhale bring the arm forward and around. Let your bottom shoulder and neck be relaxed. In this next end of your rotation, reach your arm up toward the ceiling. Turn the palm to face the direction your knees are facing. And then turn the palm toward your head, and then reach the arm overhead. Reaching the arm overhead, let the fingertips rest on the floor. And let your elbows soften and let your shoulder relax. Notice if your head fell forward during that process, and just kind of move your head back so your chest is open. Take a nice long breath into your upper armpit and shoulder. Relax your neck and your tongue and your throat. Breathe into the opening of the intercostal muscles between your upper ribs. And the exhale allows them to soften toward the lower ribs, which are creating the shape of a half moon over your bolster. Let your abdomen be relaxed. Feel the opening from your rib cage into your armpit, into your shoulder. Now, if for some reason your shoulder is feeling tight here or compressed, you can bring your hand forward a little bit of your cheek, or you can put your hand on your yoga block or some lifted support over your head. Now we're going to begin to keep the bottom knee bent towards the bolster, but the top leg, you're going to extend it. Stretch the top leg as if you're standing on your feet. So it stretches to the end of your mat, and then reach that top leg as you reach your arm in opposition. Try not to tense your shoulder. Relax the trapezius muscle at the base of the neck, down the back of your back body, away from the back of your ear. Taking a few breaths into this lengthened feeling. Now, some of you, if you're really tall and you're not feeling much of a lengthening or stretching here, you could, on our next setup, add a blanket on top of your bolster if it's not quite thick enough for you. If you're feeling a nice, gentle stretch, that's what you should be feeling. It shouldn't be very extreme. Now, I'm going to ask you to gently bring your elbow of your top hand toward your nose. So you slide the hand down, no elbow down, and bring the hand to the bolster in front of your chest. And bringing your hand down to the bolster, just giving your shoulder a little respite. And then we're going to take that top arm again, reach it up, rotate it overhead, and reach the arm overhead. Now lengthen through your top leg and engage your abdomen, draw the navel slightly in. And as you inhale, lift the leg off of the floor, no higher than your hip. So you lift the leg and you breathe. You're going to hold this position and breathe. And feel that the leg is
reaching through the back of the leg into the heel, and you're spreading the ball of your foot, your toes, almost like you're going to push into a little bit of a gas pedal, but there's a tight pedal. It's not going to go forward or down. Now, as you exhale, release your leg back down towards the ground and soften your abdomen and breathe. And once again, you're going to draw the navel slightly in to support the low back, lift the leg an inch or two off the ground. Don't lift it higher than the hip, just lift it enough to feel the side of your waist engaged. You were working the quadratus lumborum, the lengthening, the stretching, and also the toning of that muscle. And then as you stay here and breathe, just one more long cycle of breath, then lower the leg, release the leg, and relax your abdomen, relax your shoulders and neck. Take another breath, and we're going to do one more round. So navel draws in slightly, lift the leg up, stretch the arm overhead, and breathe there. About 10 cycles of breath, or 10 counts, I should say, not 10 cycles. Just 10 counts or 10 seconds. And then gently releasing the leg back down. Relax your abdomen. Bend your elbow toward your nose and slide the hand over your blankets on down to your bolster. And just pause there for a moment. Now bending your knee that's straight, bring that leg on top of the bottom leg and just pause there. Now when we transition to the other side, all you're going to do is roll forward like your face is going to roll forward. Your hand slides forward off the bolster, and it's like a rag doll is being dragged. You want to drag your forehead, press your hand, look down, head down, roll yourself back up to seated. And then we're going to turn to the other side. So now you're just going to change sides. And rather than turn my back to you, I'm going to just change my setup, but you can just turn your other opposite direction. The opposite ribs are on the bolster. And so you have it kind of up towards the upper chest region, and you drop the shoulder off the top edge of the bolster and bring that blanket support, pillow support under your head. So it should come all the way up to the top of your shoulder, and then you bring the roll deeper under your neck. And the roll might have changed since you transitioned. So you might roll it up again or unroll it if it's too tight. And then bring your knees up towards the edge of the bolster. So you bend both knees to the edge of the bolster. Bring your hand on your hip. The top arm is on the hip so you can feel, are your hips in front of your head and shoulders? First, bring your head back in line with your shoulders, and then bring your hips back in line with your spine, in line with the shoulders. So the hip, the shoulder, and the ear are in line. So be sure your head is not forward, bringing the head back. Now we're just going to make that adjustment under the bottom hip. So you're going to lift your bottom hip slightly and lengthen it away from the edge of the bolster to make space in your waist. And then go ahead and take that top arm towards the ceiling and begin to trace the moon. So as you reach the arm, lengthen the arm away from the shoulder a little bit. Begin to make a circular motion, reaching the hand like you're going to touch the sky, facing the moon. And then that circle can start to get a little bit bigger. Notice if you're tensing your neck, that may mean that you're reaching too hard, reaching too far. Try to let everything soften enough that you're reaching without tension, that you're giving yourself this opportunity to sense and feel what's going on in the arm bone rotating in the shoulder socket, making that circle bigger and bigger. Going nice and slow using your breath to rotate the arm. And then noticing which direction you're going, you can begin to circle the opposite direction. This next end of your exhale, reach your arms skyward, stretch up, the palm facing the direction of your knees. Then turn your palm to face the direction of your head, lift the arm more and reach the arm overhead. Lengthen the arm overhead, let your fingertips soften to the ground, let your elbows soften. Notice if your head fell forward when you reached your arm overhead, bring your head back in line with your spine, opening your chest and letting the back of your neck release away from the back of your ears. And now we're going to begin to breathe into the left or the upper rib cage, the armpit area. Breathe into the length of your waist down to your hip. And then begin to extend that top leg as if you're standing on that leg. Reach the heel away from you on the floor. Keeping the leg on the floor, the foot on the floor as you reach the heel away. And just take a couple of breaths into the lengthening. Relax your top shoulder and neck. Relax your bottom shoulder and neck. And just feel that you're reaching through the leg even though the leg is on the floor. You're extending. Notice if your hips roll back or roll forward. For many of us will have a tendency to roll on one side of the pelvis. Keep your hips square so that you're just lying on the outside of the bottom hip. Don't let the buttock fall back on you or the pelvis roll forward on you. Now we're going to draw the navel gently toward the spine. Keep your top leg flexing and lift the foot up an inch or two off the ground to begin with. And don't go any higher than the hip. Your toes are facing forward the same direction as your knee. And you're breathing here as you're lengthening that top leg. Try not to shorten the bottom waist. Then lower the top leg, relax as you relax your shoulders, your neck, your throat. Then again, draw the navel in, lift the leg slightly away from the ground. Mindful that you're not going higher than the hip. Sometimes if you don't have somebody there to see you, you can't tell. So go err on the side of less. So it's better to have your foot closer than too high. You'll still feel that toning of the quadratus lumborum, the QL muscle at your waistline and lower back. Then as you exhale, release the leg down, soften for a moment. Taking a full cycle of breath, make sure you're not holding the breath through any of this. Then draw the navel slightly in, lift the leg away from the ground. Keep counting your breath to 10 seconds of breath. You're not holding the breath. And then you're going to release the leg down, relax for a moment. Now bending your top elbow toward your nose, slide the hand down towards the bolster. Pause there for a moment. And then bending that top leg, stacking the knees. Take a moment, take a breath here. And we're going to slowly roll forward like we're going to do a face plant. So your cheek is relaxed, your skin of your face is relaxed. Roll forward like a rag doll, then look down. Keep your head down as you push the ground away. You're rolling up, slinking up. So you come all the way up. Good. And then you're going to turn onto your backside over your bolster. So your bolster is wide. And you're going to scoot your buttocks down off the end. Now watch for a moment. When I recline back, my shoulders at first will pop forward. I'm exaggerating, but you can see that they roll forward. So when you bring your arms into the hole between the blankets and the bolster, your arms shouldn't be on the bolster and your shoulders shouldn't roll forward. So I want you to push with your feet, but don't lift your back. Just push with your feet to roll back on your bolster and let your head find that pocket where the roll supports your neck. You may have to roll the bolster or the blanket a little thicker to support your neck so it feels supported completely and your shoulders can drop down into that hole. Then you can extend through your legs, but only keeping the chest rolling up and over the back of the bolster. So your shoulders should be falling back off the edge of the bolster, but they don't quite touch the floor. And you keep your legs active when you straighten your legs. So you can push with your feet, slide your back against the bolster. Don't lift it up, just slide it against the bolster until you feel your shoulders start to roll off the top end. And then your neck is supported and your buttocks will go onto the floor if it's not already there. And then you extend your legs. Extend one leg at a time, flex through the feet. Have your legs close together first, and then reach out through your heels and push your heels forward to push your chest upward towards the head. Then let your legs relax, let your arms relax, let your tongue, your jaw, and your throat relax. Soften through the muscles of your face, inner and outer corners of your eyes. The bottom teeth gently separate from the top teeth. If for any reason you have any discomfort in this posture, you're welcome to roll to your side and remove the bolster and lie flat on your back. Now, taking your time here to begin to transition out of this posture, you start first by bending one knee. Place the foot on the floor so you feel grounded, bend the other knee. And then you roll forward, bringing your arm and shoulder with you, roll to one side. As you roll to one side, look down and gently press the ground away, head coming up flat. Now I've already kept you a few minutes over time, so you can finish here. It's a nice place to finish, but if you want to give yourself a little treat, you can turn around the opposite direction, lengthen your legs over your blankets and your bolster, tuck your shoulders under and let your arms roll out. Support your head with a blanket if you need it. And you can be here in this pose we call Shavasana with your legs supported. Have your blanket all the way under your neck. And you can stay here 10 minutes or so just to give yourself an opportunity to absorb all that you've created during this practice, during this week. Feeling as though the ground has risen up to support you during this time. And allowing yourself the opportunity to be with that and to receive it. Inhaling to receive and exhaling to surrender, to release and let go to what is present in this moment. And I'll leave you here today. Namaste.